You ever get that sinking feeling in your chest right after you hit send on a 3-paragraph text that stays on read? That moment where you're staring at those 3 little dots, waiting, hoping, and basically praying for a shred of validation. It's like you're handing over the keys to your entire mood to someone who didn't even bother to say hey. We've all been there. We've all felt that desperate itch to explain ourselves, to prove we're the good guy, or to convince someone, anyone, that we're worth their time. But here is the cold, hard truth that nobody wants to tell you. The second you start trying to prove your worth, you've already lost it. Think about it. Does a lion roar at a sheep to convince it that he's the king of the jungle? Of course not. He doesn't have to. The lion knows exactly who he is, and his silence is more terrifying than any noise he could ever make. In our world, we're taught that the loudest person in the room is the leader. We're told to speak up, advocate for ourselves, and make sure we're heard. But that's a trap. Most people aren't speaking. They're leaking. They're leaking their energy, their dignity, and their power because they're terrified of what happens if the room goes quiet. They think silence is a void that needs to be filled, when really, silence is a fortress. If you're watching this right now, chances are you're tired. You're tired of being the one who always tries harder. You're tired of the talking stages that go nowhere, the friends who only call when they need a favor, or the boss who treats your hard work like it's invisible. You've been playing by the rules of more explaining, more chasing, more effort. And where has it gotten you? Burned out and feeling like a background character in your own life. There's a different way to live. It's a way of moving through the world that makes people stop and wonder what you know that they don't. It's the art of the quiet exit. It's the ability to walk away from a bad deal, a bad vibe, or a bad relationship without saying a single word. Because here's the secret. Your silence isn't just a lack of noise. It's a boundary. It's a statement that says your peace of mind isn't up for negotiation. Imagine you're holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. That sand is your influence. That sand is your respect. Every time you chase someone who's walking away, you're squeezing harder, and you're left with nothing but an empty hand. The Stoics, these old-school guys who basically hacked the human brain 2,000 years ago, understood this better than anyone. They realized that you can't control if someone likes you, but you have 100% control over whether or not you beg for it. Most people are addicted to the chase. We're wired for it. Our brains get a little hit of dopamine every time we think we're about to fix a situation by saying the perfect thing. We think, if I just explain it one more time, they'll get it. But they won't. Because most people aren't listening to understand you, they're listening to see how much they can get away with. When you stop explaining, you take away their roadmap. You become a mystery. And in a world where everyone is oversharing every meal, every thought, and every insecurity, being a mystery is the ultimate leverage. This isn't about being cold or edgy. It's not about playing mind games or being a Sigma or whatever the latest trend is. This is about emotional economy. It's about realizing that your words are currency, and you're currently spending them on people who are bankrupt. We're going to look at why the most powerful move you can make when someone disrespects you isn't an insult or a comeback. It's a total, absolute lack of presence. We're going to talk about the psychological shift that happens when you stop being the fixer and start being the one who's willing to walk away. By the time we're done here, you're going to understand why the person who needs the least usually ends up with the most. When you stop the chase, something strange happens. The world shifts. For years, you've been the one leaning forward, putting in the work, and trying to bridge the gap. But when you finally stand up straight and take a step back, the vacuum you leave behind creates a pull. It's basic social physics. By refusing to beg or explain, you're no longer a predictable variable. You become an unknown. And human beings are obsessed with solving unknowns. Think of your social energy like a high-end luxury brand. Why is a Rolex expensive? It's not just the gears and the gold. It's because you can't just walk into a store and get whatever you want. There's scarcity. There's a barrier. If Rolex started calling people, begging them to buy a watch and explaining why it's better than a Casio, the value would tank overnight. The brand stays elite because it's quiet. It exists. It's high quality. And if you want it, you have to meet its terms. Most people are operating like a clearance rack at a fast fashion store. They're shouting, "Look at me. I'm valuable. Here's 50 reasons why you should pick me." And what do people do? They walk right past. They assume if you're trying that hard to sell yourself, the product must be broken. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But it's deeper than just listening more than you talk. It's about observing the social market. When you're in a conflict, whether it's a blowout fight with a partner or a passive-aggressive comment from a coworker, your instinct is to defend. You want to build a case. You want to show them the logic of your side. But here's the reality check. You cannot reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. If someone is disrespecting you, they aren't doing it because they lack information. They're doing it because they've calculated that there is no cost to treating you poorly. When you explain yourself, you're essentially saying, "Please understand me so I can feel okay again." You're showing them that your emotional stability depends on their approval. That is a massive amount of power to hand over to someone who's already shown they don't have your best interests at heart. Instead of a long paragraph, try a period. Instead of a "we need to talk, sit down," try just being busy with your own life. This isn't about ghosting to be cruel. It's about ghosting the version of yourself that needs to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. When you stop explaining, you stop the leak. You start keeping that energy for yourself. Imagine all the mental bandwidth you've spent over the last year replaying conversations in your head, thinking of what you should have said, or drafting texts you never sent. If you took all that energy and poured it into a side hustle, a gym routine, or even just a hobby you actually enjoy, you'd be a different person in 6 months. The ghost strategy is essentially an audit of your own worth. You're telling the universe and yourself that your time is the most expensive thing you own. If someone wants access to it, they need to bring respect to the table as the entry fee. If they don't, the door stays shut. No yelling, no slamming, no drama, just a locked door. This creates a pattern interrupt. People are used to you reacting. They expect the chase. When the chase stops, they lose their footing. They start to wonder, wait, why aren't they calling? Did I go too far? What changed? Suddenly, the roles are reversed. They're the ones doing the mental gymnastics while you're at home, reading a book, or sleeping like a baby. This is where true Stoicism lives, in the realization that you don't need the last word to win the argument. The person who can stay silent the longest usually has the most control over the outcome. Let's get real for a second. Why is it so hard to just shut up and move on? It's because our egos are terrified of being wronged. Your ego wants to scream, "That's not fair." It wants to make sure everyone knows your side of the story. But here's a massive perspective shift. Your reputation isn't what people think of you. It's what you think of yourself when you're alone in a room. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, basically the most powerful man in the world at the time, wrote in his private journal that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Read that again. The best way to get back at someone who treated you like trash isn't to out-insult them or write a viral post exposing them. It's to be so fundamentally different from them that you don't even vibrate on the same frequency anymore. They're playing in the mud. You're walking on solid ground. If you jump in the mud to fight them, you're just another person covered in dirt. Think about the explainer's trap. This is where someone hurts you, and you spend 2 hours explaining why it hurt. You're literally giving them a manual on how to break you. You're saying, here is the exact nerve you hit, and here is why it's sensitive. A Stoic views this as tactical insanity. Why would you give an enemy the blueprints to your fortress? When you remain silent, they have no idea if they hit a nerve or if they're just shouting into a canyon. Your lack of reaction is a mirror that reflects their own immaturity back at them. There's a concept in psychology called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same thing that makes people addicted to slot machines. When you occasionally respond to someone's bad behavior by chasing or explaining, you're training them to keep acting out. You're giving them a payout of attention. Even negative attention is a win for someone who's starved for significance. When you implement the ghost strategy, you're pulling the plug on the machine. You're saying the game is over because you've stopped feeding it coins. I want you to visualize a circle of concern versus a circle of influence. Most of us live 90% of our lives in the circle of concern. This includes what your ex is posting on Instagram, what your co-workers are whispering about in the break room, and whether or not that person you like thinks you're cool. But here's the kicker. You have zero influence over those things. None. The Stoic move is to shrink your focus down to the circle of influence, the things you actually control. You control your morning routine. You control how many reps you do at the gym. You control whether or not you pick up the phone. When you stop chasing, you're essentially migrating your soul from the concern circle back to the influence circle. You're taking your power back from the hands of people who don't even know what to do with their own. Let's talk about the fear of being forgotten. That's the real monster under the bed, isn't it? We explain ourselves because we're afraid that if we don't, people will believe the lie. We're afraid that if we don't chase, they'll just move on and forget we ever existed. But ask yourself this. If someone can forget your entire worth just because you stopped begging for their attention, were they ever actually with you to begin with? Silence is a filter. It's a high-speed centrifuge that separates the gold from the dust. The people who truly value you will notice the silence and reach out with genuine concern. The people who were just using you for an ego boost will disappear. Let them. You're not losing a friend. You're clearing out the ghosts in your life so that real people can actually find a seat at your table. This isn't just about social strategy. It's about your nervous system. Every time you react or chase, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your cortisol levels spike. Your brain gets cloudy. You're literally poisoning your own body over someone who probably isn't even thinking about you. Choosing silence is like hitting the reset button on your internal stress levels. It's telling your brain, we are safe, we are in control. This person's opinion is not a threat to our survival. Now, let's dive into the power of the void. When you stop explaining yourself, you create a vacuum of information. In our modern age, everyone is an open book, usually a boring one. By staying silent, you become a black box. People can see you're moving, they can see you're succeeding, but they don't know how or why. This drives people absolutely wild. It forces them to fill in the blanks with their own imagination, and usually, their imagination gives you way more credit than your words ever could. Think about the most respected people in history, or even in your own life. Are they the ones who are constantly defending their reputation on social media? Or are they the ones who are so busy building their empire that they don't even seem to notice the noise? There's a quiet dignity in a man or woman who can be criticized and simply shrug it off. It sends a message that says, "Your opinion of me is a reflection of your character, not mine." This brings us to a hard Stoic truth. No one can hurt you without your consent. If someone calls you a name or treats you poorly, and you get angry and start explaining why they're wrong, you've just consented to be hurt. You've allowed their words to penetrate your inner citadel. But if you look at that same person with a calm, detached curiosity, like you're watching a toddler have a temper tantrum, they lose all their power. You aren't being mean by not responding. You're being disciplined. You're protecting your mental real estate. Most of us treat our attention like it's free. We give it away to anyone with a notification or a snarky comment. But your attention is the most valuable resource on the planet. Big tech companies spend billions of dollars just to steal 5 seconds of it. Why are you giving it away for free to someone who doesn't respect you? When you implement the ghost strategy, you're putting your attention behind a paywall. The price of admission? Consistency, respect, and loyalty. If they don't have the funds, they don't get the content. Period. Let's look at this through the lens of a social poker game. Every time you explain, you're showing your cards. You're telling everyone exactly what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and what your next move is. You're playing with your hand face up on the table. The Stoic plays with his cards close to his chest. Not because he's trying to trick anyone, but because he knows that in a world of chaos, the only thing you truly own is your internal state. Why broadcast it to the world? There's a massive relief that comes with this. Imagine the weight lifting off your shoulders when you realize you don't have to win every argument. You don't have to correct the record. You don't have to make sure everyone likes you. You can just exist. You can be the villain in someone else's story and still be the hero in your own. The truth is, people are going to judge you anyway. They're going to misunderstand you anyway. You might as well save your breath and use that oxygen to fuel your own fire. Think about a time you tried to explain your way out of a misunderstanding with someone who was determined to be angry. Did it work? Probably not. It usually just adds fuel to the fire. They take your explanations and twist them into new weapons to use against you. It's a game you can't win because the referee is biased. The only way to win a rigged game is to stop playing. You walk away from the table, you leave the casino, and you go do something that actually matters. This is where the superpower part kicks in. When you become the person who can't be baited into a fight, you become untouchable. People start to treat you differently. They start to choose their words more carefully around you. They realize that they can't just pull your strings to get a reaction. You've cut the strings. You're no longer a puppet to other people's moods. You're the director of your own life, and the ghost strategy is your primary tool for keeping the production on track. So, how do you actually start doing this without feeling like a jerk? It starts with the 24-hour rule. Most of our mistakes in life happen in the first 60 seconds of an emotional trigger. Someone insults you, someone leaves you on read, someone takes credit for your work, and your brain screams action. It wants to fire back. It wants to settle the score. But a Stoic knows that an immediate reaction is just a reflex, like a knee jerking when a doctor hits it with a hammer. There's no thought behind it. There's no power in it. The ghost strategy requires you to sit in the fire. When that urge to explain yourself hits, wait 24 hours. Don't text, don't call, don't even vague post a quote on your story hoping they'll see it. Just sit with the discomfort. What you'll realize is that about 12 hours in, the urgency starts to die down. By hour 20, you'll start to see the situation for what it really is, a tiny blip in a very long life. By hour 24, you usually realize that saying nothing is the most powerful thing you could possibly do. Think of it as a digital fast. We are so used to instant feedback that silence feels like a glitch in the matrix. When you don't respond, people actually start to feel a sense of ego panic. They've thrown a punch and hit nothing but air. That lack of resistance is disorienting. It forces them to sit with their own actions. If you yell back, they can blame the fight on you. If you stay silent, they have to blame the fight on themselves. You are effectively handing them back their own garbage and refusing to let it sit in your house. This leads us to the philosophy of the mountain. A mountain doesn't care if it's being rained on. It doesn't care if there's a storm or if the sun is shining. It doesn't move. People can climb it, they can curse it, or they can admire it. The mountain remains the mountain. When you stop chasing validation, you become the mountain. You are no longer weather dependent. Your self-worth isn't tied to the forecast of someone else's opinion. Most people are like kites. They're high up one day because someone gave them a compliment, and they're face down in the dirt the next because someone ignored them. They are tethered to the world by a thin string of need. The ghost strategy is about cutting that string. It's about realizing that you don't need to be up all the time in the eyes of others. You just need to be solid. Let's talk about the trap of the last word. We've been conditioned by movies to think that the person who gives the big, dramatic speech at the end is the winner. In real life, the person who gets the last word is usually the one who looks the most desperate. The winner is the one who didn't even realize there was a competition. When you walk away without a parting shot, you leave the other person with a cliffhanger. They are stuck in a loop, wondering what you're thinking. Meanwhile, you've moved on to the next chapter. Marcus Aurelius often spoke about the inner citadel. This is the place inside your mind that no one can enter unless you let them. Every time you beg for someone's attention, you're opening the gates and letting a stranger trash the furniture. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't care, you're giving them a key to the treasury. Silence is how you bar the door. It's how you tell the world you are welcome to your opinion, but you are not welcome in my head. This isn't just a social hack. It's a character build. When you master your tongue, you master your life. If you can control your urge to fix how people see you, you can control your urge to overeat, to overspend, or to give up when things get hard. It's the ultimate form of self-discipline. You're teaching your brain that you are the boss, not your impulses. You're moving from a reactive life to a proactive one. What happens to your mind when you finally stop the noise? Most people are terrified of quiet, because in the silence, they have to face themselves. But for you, the silence is where you find your edge. There is a specific kind of mental clarity that only comes when you stop trying to manage everyone else's perception of you. It's like clearing the smoke off a battlefield. Suddenly, you can see the terrain. You can see who is actually an ally and who was just a tourist in your life, hanging around for the drama. Think about the shadow effect. When you're constantly explaining and chasing, you're standing directly in the light, showing every flaw, every doubt, and every insecurity. You're making yourself small and easy to categorize. But when you step into the shadows of silence, you become substantial. You become a person of weight. In the US, we have this obsession with transparency, but the Stoics knew that total transparency is actually a form of nakedness. And you don't go to war naked. You wear armor. Silence is that armor. Let's get tactical for a second. Let's talk about the power of the no response. We've all had that one person, an ex, a toxic family member, or a frenemy, who knows exactly how to push our buttons. They send that one text that they know will make your blood boil. They're fishing. They're throwing a hook into the water, waiting for you to bite, so they can reel you into another round of emotional exhaustion. When you don't respond, the hook just sits there. It doesn't catch anything. And eventually, the fisherman gets frustrated and moves to a different spot. By not explaining why you're upset, you're not giving them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. You're effectively saying, you are not important enough to warrant an emotional reaction. That is the ultimate burn, but it's one that keeps your hands clean. This is the Stoic filter in action. Seneca, another heavy hitter in the Stoic world, used to say that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Think about how much you've suffered, imagining the perfect explanation you're going to give someone. You've rehearsed it 1,000 times in the shower. You've imagined them finally saying, "Oh, I see now. You were right all along." Newsflash, that almost never happens. In reality, they probably won't even read half of what you write. They'll just see a wall of text and think, wow, this person is stressed out. They won't see your logic, they'll only see your desperation. By choosing silence, you're refusing to participate in a fantasy. You're staying grounded in reality. The reality is that their opinion of you doesn't put money in your bank account, it doesn't improve your health, and it doesn't define your future, it's just noise. And you're turning the volume down to 0. This shift changes your presence. Have you ever noticed that the most intimidating person in a room isn't the guy bragging about his car or his connections? It's the person sitting in the corner, listening, observing, and only speaking when they have something of actual value to say. That person has gravity. People naturally lean toward them. Why? Because they aren't leaking their value, they're containing it. When you stop begging for a seat at the table, you realize you can build your own table. When you stop chasing people who are halfway out the door, you realize your own house is finally quiet and peaceful. You start to enjoy your own company. You start to realize that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Being alone is a choice. Being lonely is a reaction. The ghost strategy turns your loneliness into a powerful, chosen solitude. You are no longer a consumer of other people's drama. You are a producer of your own peace. And once you get a taste of that peace, that deep, unshakable feeling that you are enough, even if the whole world misunderstands you, you'll never go back to begging again. You'll look back at the person you used to be, the one who sent the long paragraphs and waited for the dots, and you won't even recognize them. You've evolved. You've traded your need for power. Here is the final piece of the puzzle. This is where everything we've talked about moves from a theory in your head to a weapon in your hand. The ultimate goal of the ghost strategy isn't to change how other people treat you, though that usually happens as a side effect. The goal is to change how you see yourself. When you finally stop the chase, you aren't just giving up on a person or a situation, you're giving up on the idea that you are incomplete without their approval. You're realizing that the power they had over you was actually your own power that you were just lending to them. Today, you're calling in the debt. Think about the life of a true Stoic. They weren't hermits living in caves. They were generals, emperors, and merchants. They were people who had everything to lose, yet they moved through the world with a sense of detached engagement. They played the game, but they didn't let the game play them. When you stop explaining and start observing, you're stepping into that same mindset. You're becoming a social scientist in your own life. You're watching the drama unfold from a distance, rather than being drowned by the waves. Imagine a year from now. You've mastered the art of silence. You've stopped the paragraph war. You've deleted the numbers of the people who made you feel like you were too much or not enough. Your phone is quieter, but your mind is louder. Your bank account is probably healthier because you stopped spending money on people who were just using you for a vibe. Your body feels lighter because you're no longer carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. People look at you and they see a fortress. They see someone who is comfortable in their own skin. That is the ultimate win. The world is going to keep trying to bait you. There will always be a new person who tries to push your buttons, a new opportunity that requires you to compromise your dignity, or a new reason to feel insecure. But you have the blueprint now. You know that silence is your superpower. You know that you don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth, your boundaries, or your peace. You are the CEO of your own energy, and you are currently in a period of private growth. If you've made it this far, it means you're ready to stop being the extra in someone else's movie and start being the director of your own. It's not going to be easy. That itch to explain yourself will come back. That urge to check their profile will flare up. When it does, I want you to remember the lion and the sheep. Remember that your value is inherent. It is not a debate to be won. Take a deep breath. Put the phone down. Let the unread stay unread. Let the misunderstanding stay misunderstood. You have bigger things to build, higher mountains to climb, and a version of yourself to meet that you haven't even introduced to the world yet. The ghost isn't someone who died. It's someone who became so powerful they became unhauntable. This is the end of the script, but it's the beginning of your leverage. If this message hit home for you today, do yourself a favor and keep this energy close. If you want to keep building this mental fortress and mastering the laws of human nature through a Stoic lens, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who's currently chasing too hard, and subscribe to the channel Stoic Origin. We're building a tribe of people who are reclaiming their power through the strength of their own silence. Stay solid, stay silent, stay stoic.